In the middle of the night, you hear a crash down the hallway. Do you really want to be swinging a long hunting shotgun around door frames? Or would you rather have a compact, purpose-built blaster that comes up fast and clears corners without slowing you down? That's exactly where the smallest home defense shotguns for 2025 shine. These aren't gimmicky miniguns you buy just because they look cool. They are compact defensive tools designed for tight hallways, cramped apartments, and stairwells where every extra inch of barrel is something to snag on furniture, walls, or doorways. Instead of focusing on long-range hunting performance, they prioritize fast handling, quick target acquisition, and enough capacity to handle real-world defensive situations, all in packages that are short, maneuverable, and surprisingly comfortable, once you learn how to run them. Before diving into specific models, it helps to know why small is such a big deal indoors. On an open range, a long 28-inch shotgun is fine. Inside a hallway, it turns into a clumsy lever that sticks out around corners and is easier to grab or jam. Compact shotguns flip that script. Bullpup designs move the action behind the trigger for full-length performance in a short body, while others use 14-inch barrels and bird's head grips to slash overall length. The catch? Short and light means more recoil and less forgiveness. So the real win is a compact gun you can actually control under stress. Let's kick things off with number 7, the Kel-Tec KS7. A bullpup 12-gauge that proves small doesn't have to mean underpowered. Instead of sawing the barrel down, the KS7 keeps a full 18.5-inch barrel but moves the action and magazine behind the trigger. The result is an overall length around just 26 inches, shorter than many pistol-grip firearms that give up several inches of barrel length and a lot of velocity. You're getting full barrel performance in a package that feels almost like a compact carbine rather than a traditional shotgun. The KS7 feeds 12-gauge shells from a single tubular magazine, typically holding 6+1 or 7+1 rounds depending on the shell length. That's plenty for normal defensive encounters, especially when you remember how much a single 12-gauge load can do at across-the-room distances. The gun is also light, hovering around the 6-pound mark. That lightness makes it quick to shoulder, easy to keep at the ready, and very agile when you're slicing pie around a doorway or shifting sides in a narrow hallway. The catch, of course, is that lighter shotguns kick harder, so good technique is non-negotiable. Up top, Kel-Tec builds in a distinctive carry handle with a bright fiber optic front sight. That glowing front dot is exactly what you want when you're waking up at 3 a.m., eyes not fully adjusted, and you need something you can pick up instantly. If you don't care for the carry handle aesthetic, you're not stuck with it. You can swap it out for a rail and drop a red dot sight on top. The grip and pump are aggressively textured, so your hands don't slip when sweat, adrenaline, or even rain enter the picture. There's also an integrated handguard at the front to make sure your support hand never creeps anywhere near the muzzle, which is a real concern on short, fast-moving guns. The KS7 is not a polished gentleman's sporting piece. The pump action can feel mechanical, and reloading the rear-mounted tube is more awkward and slower than feeding a conventional front tube pump or slapping in a detachable magazine. But for someone who wants a compact full-power 12-gauge that stays legal, offers decent capacity, and is optimized for tight spaces, the KS7 delivers a lot of practical performance in a compact, affordable package. Stepping up to number 6, things get wilder with the IWI Tavor TS12, a shotgun that looks like it was ripped straight from a futuristic SWAT loadout. Again, this is a bullpup 12-gauge with an 18.5-inch barrel, but the overall length stays just over 28 inches, keeping the gun short, balanced, and easy to maneuver indoors. The TS12 is gas-operated, using a short-stroke piston system. That matters because the gas system helps soak up recoil and cycle the action smoothly, which is a huge plus when you're launching full-power buckshot in a relatively compact platform. The headline feature of the TS12 is its rotating triple-tube magazine. Instead of one long tube, the gun has 3 shorter ones wrapped under the barrel. Each tube holds around 5 2 3/4-inch shells, giving you up to 15 rounds on board, plus 1 in the chamber. That kind of capacity in a compact defensive shotgun is almost absurd in a good way. When one tube runs dry, you hit a side control and rotate the next tube into position, keeping the gun in the fight without stopping to feed individual shells. With some practice, you can manage different loads in different tubes, slugs in one, buckshot in another, and rotate to what you need. You get a full-length top rail ready for a red dot, which most owners will install since the gun doesn't come with traditional iron sights. Ergonomics are surprisingly friendly for a bullpup, with solid placement of the charging handle and safety. Once broken in and fed quality ammunition, the TS12 cycles fast, hits hard, and offers semi-auto speed with enormous capacity. This isn't a beginner's shotgun. It's heavy compared to simple pumps, more complex mechanically, and definitely sits at a higher price point. It also demands some time investment to learn the tube rotation and the feel of a bullpup. But if the phrase short, gas-operated 12-gauge with 16 rounds on board makes your ears perk up, the TS12 is one of the most formidable small shotguns you can stage in a hallway. Coming in at number 5, the Henry Axe .410 is proof you don't have to go full tactical black to get a useful home defense tool. It looks like something from an old-school Western show, a lever-action, cut-down, mare's leg-style firearm. But it's actually a carefully designed, compact, non-NFA defensive option. Overall length sits around 26 inches with a barrel around 15 inches, keeping it short, handy, and legal in the firearm category rather than a traditional shotgun classification in many regions. The axe is chambered in .410 bore and usually runs 2.5-inch shells through a tubular magazine that holds about 5 rounds plus 1 in the chamber. Why .410 for home defense? Because recoil matters. In a lightweight, compact gun, full-power 12-gauge loads can be punishing, especially for smaller or less experienced shooters. 410, especially with modern defensive buckshot or slug loads, offers a much softer shooting experience while still delivering enough punch at typical indoor distances. It's not as forgiving as 12-gauge, but for someone who wants controllability first, it's a strong option. Henry offers different versions of the axe. You can go with a classic walnut and brass look that blends into a more traditional home, or choose a utilitarian model with polymer furniture and practical sights. Many barrels are threaded for chokes, so you can fine-tune your pattern. And some models are drilled and tapped for optics, if you want to mount a mini red dot. The lever action is smooth. The oversized loop makes cycling easy and stylish, and the whole package feels quick and nimble in tight quarters. There are real trade-offs. Capacity is limited. Reloads are slower because you're feeding shells one by one into a tube. And .410 doesn't deliver the same wall of lead as a 12-gauge buckshot load. But if you want a small defensive long gun that doesn't beat you up, offers strong visual deterrence, and feels more approachable than a brutal little 12-gauge, the Henry Axe .410 is a compelling and unique answer. Number 4 brings us back to the brutally effective world of short 12-gauge pumps with the Remington 870 TAC-13. Built on the legendary 870 action, the TAC-13 takes a proven shotgun and trims it down to a 14-inch barrel with a bird's head-style grip, ending up just over 26 inches in overall length. It looks like something a movie character would whip out when the bad guys breach the door, but beneath the drama is a lot of real-world utility. Chambered in 12-gauge, the TAC-14 typically carries about 4+1 or 5+1 rounds, depending on the exact configuration. It comes in both hardwood and synthetic furniture variants, with the wood giving it a throwback vibe that still feels very serious in the hand. The bird's head grip is not just a design flourish. It's there to help distribute recoil in a more manageable way. Instead of slamming straight back into the wrist, like many pistol grips, it rolls the recoil in an arc that, when handled correctly, can be surprisingly controllable. The beauty of the TAC-14 is that it inherits the 870's reputation. Smooth pump stroke, robust action, and a huge aftermarket. Many versions have a fore-end strap to keep your hand from sliding forward, vital on such a short shotgun. Being relatively light for a 12-gauge, it snaps up quickly, but it will let you know every time you press the trigger with full power loads. This is very much a train-with-it gun. If a shooter tries to run full-power 12-gauge shells in a TAC-14 without learning proper technique, the experience can be unpleasant and confidence-killing. But for someone willing to put in the time, the TAC-14 offers a compact, affordable, and proven defensive platform that can live behind a bedroom door or tucked away in a vehicle. At number 3 is the Mossberg 590S Shockwave, a close cousin to the TAC-14. In spirit, but with a trick up its sleeve: incredible shell flexibility. The 590S Shockwave shares the same general layout: 14-inch barrel, bird's head grip, around 26 inches overall. But the S system is designed to run 3 different shell lengths without add-on adapters: 1 3/4-inch mini shells, standard 2 3/4-inch, and 3-inch magnums. That flexibility is a game-changer. With 3-inch shells, you're looking at around 4+1 capacity. Drop down to standard 2 3/4-inch shells, and capacity jumps to roughly 5+1. Swap to mini shells, and you can pack in around 8+1 in the same compact gun. Those mini shells drastically reduce recoil and muzzle blast while still delivering meaningful defensive payloads, making the 590S Shockwave much more approachable for many shooters. You can also mix and match for different roles, though most people will keep it simple for defensive use. The gun uses Mossberg's Raptor bird's head grip to manage recoil and a strapped corncob fore end that gives you solid purchase during fast pumping. The barrel is heavy-walled and typically wears a simple bead sight. Internally, the 590S feed system is tuned specifically to handle the short mini shells reliably, solving a long-standing reliability issue that older shotguns had with these reduced-length cartridges. As with the TAC-14, there's a learning curve, especially if you insist on using full-power loads. But the ability to dial the recoil way down with mini shells and still maintain serious capacity is what makes the 590S Shockwave stand out. For some shooters, especially those in recoil-sensitive households, it may be the sweet spot between compact size, controllable shooting, and enough capacity to feel genuinely prepared. Now we step back into semi-auto territory with number 2, the Remington V3 TAC-13. If the TAC-14 is the compact pump bruiser, the V3 TAC-13 is its smoother, gas-operated cousin that trades manual pumping for self-loading speed. It keeps the same style of bird's head grip, short overall length around 26.5 inches, and around a 13-inch barrel. But underneath the skin is Remington's VersaPort gas system. VersaPort uses different gas ports that open or close depending on shell length. Light 2 3/4-inch loads open more ports, bleeding off enough gas to run the action reliably without beating up the shooter. Heavier 3-inch loads use fewer ports, balancing power and cycling. For you, that translates into softer recoil and a gun that runs a wide variety of defensive ammunition without a lot of fuss. The V3 TAC-13 typically holds around 5+1 rounds. It uses a vent rib barrel with a bead sight, and the cylinder bore is tuned for buckshot and slugs at defensive ranges. The bird's head grip and fore-end strap help anchor your hands, and the semi-auto action means you're only worried about aiming and pressing the trigger, not shucking the pump between shots. That makes quick follow-ups much easier, especially in high-stress scenarios. There are some realities to accept. Semi-autos demand regular maintenance, quality ammo, and they usually cost more than pump guns. But for shooters who want a compact 12-gauge with significantly reduced perceived recoil and very fast shot-to-shot times, the V3 TAC-13 hits a sweet spot. It feels like it was designed specifically for close-quarters emergencies, where staying in control and getting back on target fast matter more than anything. Finally, at number 1, there's the Genesis Arms Gen 12 PDS, a shotgun that practically redefines what compact 12-gauge can mean. This is a highly specialized platform built around the idea of maximum firepower in minimal space, with one more twist. It's suppressed. The gun uses a tiny 5-inch barrel, paired with a dedicated 12-gauge suppressor that brings the total length to roughly 26 inches. That means you're holding a suppressed 12-gauge setup in a package about as long as many of the unsuppressed bird's head guns on this list. The Gen 12 PDS is a short recoil magazine-fed 12-gauge that uses an AR-style lower based on a .308 pattern. That means the controls, safety, mag release, will feel instantly familiar to anyone used to ARs. It typically ships with 5-round magazines, with higher capacity options available. The upper sports rails and M-lock slots so you can bolt on optics, lights, and other accessories, turning it into a true close-quarters fighting platform. The suppressor does more than just reduce noise. Indoors, 12-gauge blast is brutally loud and disorienting. A suppressor tamps down that overpressure and muzzle flash, helping preserve hearing and situational awareness when you can least afford to lose them. Coupled with the recoil system, it keeps the gun surprisingly shootable for something with such a short barrel. It's purpose-built to run a wide range of defensive 2 3/4-inch loads, giving you reliable cycling in a gun that looks more like a sci-fi breaching tool than a traditional shotgun. The catches here are big: price, legal complexity, and specialization. This is not a budget gun, and in many places owning both a suppressor and a very short 12-gauge firearm involves extra steps. The stock usually offers 2 locked positions instead of wide adjustability, and the controls are oriented mainly for right-handed shooters. But if you're looking for the absolute bleeding edge of compact shotgun capability, suppressed, mag-fed, AR-style controls, the Gen 12 PDS sits at the top of that pyramid. The right choice isn't just a spec sheet decision. It's about your recoil tolerance, your budget, how much you're willing to train, and the layout of your own home. A high-end suppressed mag-fed shotgun is useless if you can't own it legally or won't practice with it. A brutal little bird's head 12-gauge is a liability if you're afraid to pull the trigger. The real top smallest shotgun for home defense is the one that fits your hands, your nerves, and your environment, and the one you're committed to mastering long before something goes bump in the night.